You know that feeling when you wake up already tired, and for a second you just lie there trying to remember what part of life is asking so much from you before the day has even started? It is a strange kind of exhaustion, because it is not always dramatic. It does not always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like being functional. Sometimes it looks like answering messages, showing up to work, paying bills, making plans, canceling them, then trying again. From the outside, it can look like ordinary adult life. From the inside, it can feel like carrying something heavy that nobody else can see. And that is part of why so many people misunderstand it. When people hear that millennials are tired all the time, they often turn it into a joke, or a complaint, or a weakness, laziness, stress, poor habits. A generation that supposedly cannot handle reality. But that misses something important. This is not just personal failure, it is a pattern. And patterns usually mean adaptation, not defect. What is really happening is more layered than people realize. A lot of millennial fatigue is not about one single problem. It is what happens when a nervous system spends years living in a state of unfinished recovery. Psychologists and neuroscientists have long understood that the body does not only respond to immediate danger, it also responds to chronic pressure. When stress becomes constant instead of occasional, the system stops treating life as something to enjoy and starts treating life as something to manage. That shift changes everything. Sleep becomes lighter. Attention becomes fragmented. Rest does not fully restore. Even quiet moments can feel like waiting for the next demand. And millennials grew up inside a very specific kind of pressure. Many of them came of age in environments where performance became tied to safety. Good grades, good behavior, good work ethic, good attitude, good productivity. There was often a quiet message underneath it all. Being valued meant being useful. Then adulthood arrived with rising costs, unstable job markets, the pressure to stay relevant, the constant visibility of social comparison, and the strange expectation to remain optimistic through all of it. That combination does something to a person over time. The body learns to keep going before it learns how to feel safe. That is why the tiredness can feel so deep. It is not only physical, it is emotional load, cognitive load, social load, financial load, and often a kind of invisible self-monitoring that never fully switches off. Many millennials are not just working hard, they are mentally tracking everything at once. The budget, the future, other people's expectations, their own age, their own progress, their own delayed milestones, their own sense that they should be further along by now. That kind of internal monitoring burns energy even when nothing obvious is happening. Research on chronic stress and allostatic load has shown something that many people feel in their bones before they can explain it. When the body is repeatedly activated without enough recovery, wear and tear builds up. The system becomes efficient at surviving and less available for ease. In real life, that can look like waking up tired after a full night's sleep, feeling emotionally flat, or needing a long time to recover from things that used to be simple. Not because the person is weak, but because the body has been practicing endurance for too long. And there is another layer that is easy to miss. Millennials were often raised during a transition period. Many of them were told that if they followed the rules, life would become stable. Study hard, work hard, be responsible, stay loyal, keep improving. But then they entered adulthood and discovered that stability was not guaranteed in the way they were led to expect. That gap between promise and reality creates a subtle kind of grief. Not always conscious, not always dramatic, but real. Grief is tiring. So is disappointment that never gets processed. So is having to rebuild your expectations every few years while still pretending to be fine. For many people in this generation, fatigue is what unresolved adaptation feels like. The mind keeps recalibrating, the body keeps bracing, the future keeps moving. And somewhere, in all that motion, rest becomes something that feels slightly suspicious, almost indulgent, instead of natural. That does not mean everyone in the same age group experiences this the same way. Some people are more protected by family support, temperament, community, finances, or luck. Some people are wired to tolerate uncertainty with more ease. Others are more sensitive to stress, more reflective, more conscientious, more likely to carry invisible weight. None of that makes one person better than another. It just means human beings are built differently, and those differences shape what pressure feels like from the inside. There is also a paradox here. The same qualities that make many millennials dependable can also make them tired. Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, responsibility, and the ability to anticipate problems are strengths. They help people navigate complex lives, but those same traits can keep the mind running long after the task is done. A person who notices everything often also absorbs everything. A person who is good at holding it together can become the one who never fully lets go. That is the quiet cost. Being capable can become a form of constant tension, and still, there is something meaningful in that. This tiredness is not proof that something is wrong with the person. In a lot of cases, it is proof that they adapted to demanding conditions and kept functioning anyway. The fatigue is not always a sign of collapse. Sometimes, it is the body finally telling the truth after years of silent effort. The nervous system is not being dramatic. It is reporting what life has been asking. That changes the way it should be understood, not as a character flaw, not as a generation lazily drifting through adulthood, not as a lack of resilience, but as a human response to prolonged strain, unrelenting comparison, financial uncertainty, digital overstimulation, and a culture that often confuses exhaustion with inadequacy. And when it is seen that way, a little shame starts to fall away. Because there is relief in realizing that the tiredness makes sense. There is relief in understanding that rest is not something to earn by becoming more acceptable. Rest is part of what the system has been asking for all along. The body does not need a better performance review. It needs less threat, more steadiness, more room to recover, more permission to stop translating every moment into pressure. That is a kinder way to look at it. And maybe that is the real shift here. Not trying to force the tiredness away, but understanding what it has been protecting. Sometimes exhaustion is what happens when a person has been strong for too long without enough support, too much uncertainty without enough grounding, too many years of holding it together without being held in return. There is nothing broken about that. There is just a life that has asked a lot. And perhaps that is why this feeling lands so deeply for so many millennials. Not because they are failing at adulthood, but because they have been living inside a culture that keeps rewarding endurance while quietly draining the energy required to sustain it. If that recognition feels familiar, there is more beneath it still. More about why so many people in this generation struggle to relax even when nothing is wrong.